our end. Father, we thank you again for this day. We thank you for your guidance with this squadron and for all the CAP members. Provide them with strengths and mission accomplishments. Provide them with safety of travels and with good health. Most of all, we just praise you and glory.
Amen. All right. Today's safety meeting. So I'll get started with a few items. Dave, we're all good. We're broadcasting on YouTube. Yes. Excellent. Let's see. So notes from our operations. We've flown as a, let's see, is this a group or a wing? 438 hours, even with our fleet being in the shape it's in. So that should get better as the weather gets better and the more planes come online. If you're curious about that report, I can send you a link later. We are now, I guess we're assigning new AMOs. So again, if people are interested in the maintenance officer, aircraft maintenance officer position, want to know more about it, or afraid of it, and want to dip your toe in it, let me know, or let Andre know, and we can get you on that career field. Right now, maintenance is the biggest problem that we have for operations. So 437 Charlie Papa and 308 Charlie Papa are back in flying shape and are mission ready. 285 Charlie Papa should have an engine installed by April, so it's out of service. 7598 Zulu and 887 Charlie Papa are down with avionics work. 94800 and 216 Charlie Papa are down for prop and governor overhauls, about 4 weeks out, so they're out. 968 Charlie Papa finally got released to move to San Diego, where further research can be done to repair oil temperature indicators. So still out of service. 97099er is in holding pattern for decision by headquarters whether to replace 4 cylinders or send it for retirement. The wing received 1 new aircraft at Santa Maria. 394 Charlie Alpha. Seems a departure from our naming scheme. It is a 172S G1000. But good month. No safety incidents. Keep making flight safe for everybody. Questions, comments on any planes that we don't have available?
What is our bird?
We don't have one yet. We're waiting. Oh. We're still working on that.
What is expected?
I don't know the tail number, but we are expected to get a turbo 216 G1000. So good bird. 206. Did I? What did I say? 21. Huh? I was staring at something else. 206. Yeah. Anything else? Going.
Who knows what that tail number is?
I think I've got it. I can dig it up.
Yeah, I don't have it in my list. Yeah.
Plan on it until they're received.
You guys look like you have announcements.
I don't.
Oh, okay. Just hanging out.
I'm just here to say hi and meet up maybe with some of your new people and
Okay.
introduce and whatnot.
Well, for everyone who is new and has not met Major Banner, he is our illustrious Group 3 commander. So Andre reports directly into him. All of us report into him. And some of us serve on group positions. I'm also the Group 3 historian and personnel officer. And so we all, in some way, shape, or form.
If I'm doing it right, I don't do anything, and I have everybody helping me.
Exactly.
So, it's good to visit you guys again. It's been a while. Been a little bit of a long break with holidays. But back to start my regular visits again. Should see you guys every 6 to 8 weeks. And I stopped by this weekend. You guys had a great training going over there this weekend, so I was here Saturday. Saw some of you then. But for the new folks, good to meet you. I like to stay busy and show you how much I love you guys. Because I need you. So awesome. Thank you. I'm just here to observe and say hi tonight.
All right. Thank you, Major Banner. Who was here for the training over the weekend? Does anyone want to say a few words about how it went? Because I wasn't here, so I'm curious too.
Sure. Well, first day was with Captain Mansubi. Went over mission radio operator. As a newly minted person going into this for the first time, it kinda did feel like it was over my head a bit, because he knew.
That happens here.
He knew a
Yes.
lot of information, it was amazing. There were about 4 cadets, the place was literally almost packed. Second day was, mission staff assistant with, Lieutenant, Kevin Shin, and another gentleman, I'm trying to forget his name right now, and their teaching actually was more geared towards learning, the way they presented it, and it was more understandable. And then, of course, that second day was a mock type of SAREX, where some of us got a chance to do mission staff assist, and then, and I did that with the, play ball commander up here. He was the,
It's Richard Gappison.
yes, thank you. He was the ground branch director, and I was one of his assistants, and then we switched roles, and I was in the hangar with Cadet Lee, very, very smart young man, I must admit.
Yes, he is.
With as a mission radio operator, and that was tough. Wow. Definitely we need more training with that one. How he remembers everything and keeps everything in his mind and write everything down in shorthand. Definitely could learn a lot from that, so, it went well. Chuck was a huge help, definitely. Colonel Swift was here as well. But all in all, it was a good turnout.
Excellent.
It was very
That
good.
is, that's always good to hear. Let's see. Alright. Yeah, throw a real quick, Andrew, since you mentioned cadets. It's a senior squadron, but we have a lot of cadets out there. And if there's events you hear about that are cadet events, we can't do them without seniors, and you guys will have fun. So please, when you see cadet things happening, please sign up for it. We need your help. And you'll have fun. You get to be 14 again.
Okay. Do you have your stuff all ready to go? Or?
Yeah, sure, as long as I can get this connected to that, I'll be
Okay, well, I can disconnect from that.
I mean, even if I don't, I can figure to do this thing without doing it that way.
Let me,
Yeah, one of the things that's neat is
you can come on up
when
here.
you
and-
start getting that negative feeling about our younger generation, come out here when you have cadets. I'll tell you, it makes you know that, wow, it's not all these kids are going to pot, literally. I mean, it's really a neat thing. You come away just really in a positive attitude, just going, oh, right, man, these kids are really all for this.
We
They're
have
just
amazing cadets.
Yes, they are. Okay, let's see. First off, let me see if I can. Should be coming up, hopefully. If not,
There you are.
there we go. Right, it did it. All right, I need to go here. All right. Okay, I'm Roger Mann, for those of you who don't know who I am. I'm the safety officer. And I'm gonna tell a little story. When I was flying with the Air Force with the C-141, we would do what they call local flights sometimes. And what they were is that they were practice flights, kind of like what we do here in the Civil Air Patrol. And only there, they would go up there and spend taxpayers' money, $50,000, $60,000 doing touch and goes. And we actually figured that out one time. And and usually what we did is that we would go usually at the same base, like if we were back in the days when we were at Norton, we'd do touch and goes there, or we would go over to March Air Force Base and do it there. And then when we moved to March, we just did it at March. But every once in a while, we would go up to another base, which basically the whole idea behind this training was for the pilots to be able to do approaches on bases on getting their practice as far as doing ILS approaches, non-precision approaches, all the different various approaches that you would do when you fly the airplanes. And of course, a lot of these guys, you know, they had like, 50,000 flying hours, most of them. They were all pretty high-end people that I flew with. So anyhow, one day we showed up 6 o'clock in the morning, actually at 3:45 in the morning, and it was a day not much different than that you see today. It was pretty much kind of it wasn't any clouds. There was no clouds showing anywhere. It was just showing that it was like a typical San Bernardino, Southern California. You couldn't see more than a couple of miles. And but there was no clouds. Nothing was showing that. And we had the briefing. Everything was just perfectly normal. Absolutely nothing different than normal. We got in the airplane, did the pre-flights, and did all that kind of stuff. We took off and came out, beelining out to go up to Palmdale, which is where we were going to do the touch and goes. As we were climbing out, I was sitting at the engineer's panel, and I was sitting there, and everything was just normal. I was getting ready to do the data for doing the touch and goes at Palmdale, and all of a sudden, one of the pilots, he just turned and he said, this is awful, it's weird. It was just typical Southern California June gloom is what we call it. You guys have been here for long enough know what that is. All of a sudden, just out of nowhere, kabam! And what happened? We're like, I looked at the panel, everything was just, nothing moved, everything was perfectly fine, and with the obvious, we must have been hit with lightning. We're like going, oh my gosh, really? So we kind of, as the good CRM should be, we all talked it over and said, maybe we should just, since this is just a training mission, let's just go back home. So that's exactly what we did. We turned around and came back. Well, I guess nature didn't want us to continue without having more excitement. As we're coming back, we're making a final approach. We're looking down at the runway down below, and here's two C-141s getting ready to call the tower, tell them what happened. And so he called the tower. Now you got to picture this. We're coming in. Here's these two 141s in there. We're on final. We called it into the tower and told them that we'd just been hit by lightning for the second time. You should have seen the two 141s. Turned around and went back to parking. We were just, I mean, it was, I wish, we didn't have a cell phone at the time, so back in those days. I wish I could have got a picture. It was so fun. We were actually just laughing our heads off. Okay, I guess they're not going to fly today. And anyhow, we got on the ground, and of course, maintenance immediately came out, and they came out there, and sure enough, on the left wing, the panels were just blown right off. Whoa. So it came in, we think, our maintenance thinks it came in through the nose dome and went through the airplane and exited right out the left wing. Wow. And we just went, oh my gosh, the little static eliminators, you guys on the ends, okay, two of them were blown off. So we definitely got hit with lightning. And you're sitting there going, wow, what are the chances of that ever happening? Well, it happened again. It happened 3 more times. I got hit with lightning and the C-141.
I'm not flying with you.
I know. I never wanted to bring that up before because I was afraid I might hear that. But
you really don't need clouds to have lightning. I've
no,
seen
you
lightning
do not.
over
We had
Ohio that's horizontal
Yep.
with no clouds and clear air.
Yep. We took off from New Mexico, one of those little top secret places there that they do weird stuff at, clear as a bell. Took off, kabam! We got hit with lightning. We turned around, of course, went back and landed to inspect the airplane to see what was going on. So it can happen, and it can happen more than once or twice or 3 times or 4 times, 5 times total for me. So, thus, I thought it disappeared.
Timed out.
Huh?
It timed out.
Oh.
Thought I was gonna see Froggy and the Toad.
Actually, I don't even really need it, because I'm going to, since I already set the stage, you obviously know what I'm going to talk about. I'm going to talk about lightning. And it's one of those kind of things where if you think, it's like, well, they had it here in the discussion. It's one in, it's 1 in a million is what they call it. A lightning bolt can have 50,000 degrees Fahrenheit in it, hotter than the sun. And I have known 2 people that got hit by lightning, and fortunately they lived. The other ones, I didn't know who they were. I just heard it and read it in the newspaper. I'm from Northern California, way up, north of San Francisco, and so we get hit by lightning. Now you're sitting there probably going, well, why are you talking about lightning? I mean, we don't hardly get that here. Well, I hate to tell you this, we had 2 major lightning storms just this last 3 weeks, within the month, and pretty big ones. We had up in Banning, of course, we get them up there because we're right in that area. And we had a few of those big bolts come down and just, hit things. There's 2 types of lightning. My dad was a forest ranger, and so I learned it very, very early as a kid, what lightning can do. The first one is air to air, or cloud to cloud, they call it. The other one's going from cloud down to the ground. The one that comes from the air down to the ground can be deadly, very deadly. Now, for us who fly, it could be a problem being up in the air, because then you could also get hit by lightning there too. I looked up some of the stuff as far as FAA, what they would recommend in terms of you flying in an airplane anywhere near a thunderstorm. Well, they say 20 miles distance from a thunderstorm. Air Force, if I remember rightly, it's 50 miles. They don't even go close to a thunderstorm at all. The problem is that lightning can go a long, long ways. And if you're the only thing that's out there moving through the air, causing that static electricity to build up in your airplane, and of course it's searching all the time looking for you, and it can go out, oh look, wow, and go right after you. So that's one of those things you gotta keep in mind. Now, I'm not just going to talk about only aviation, because I am talking about also things that you can do on the ground. If you are out on the golf course and you hear thunder, what do you think you should do?
Go to the club.
Yeah, join the club, yeah. They actually have a thing in here, find a metal bench and sit down in it under a tree. Well, maybe in the summertime when it's nice and hot, but not with this. We do get them. Bob and I, when we were at the Aero Club, they would send out notices all the time out at the Air Force Base at March, all the time. When the storm got within 5 miles, then you shut everything down. Everything. Stop refueling airplanes, anything. You're out in the flight line, they would have maintenance people come on in and find shelter, get out of it. It's something that you have to be careful with. I know that my wife and I, when my daughter was young, we used to stand there in our front porch over at San Bernardino watching the thunderstorms go across Big Bear and up in that area. We used to just watch it, But the thing is that, believe it or not, lightning can actually go that distance to get you to you too. Now the chances are pretty small. You know, we were, you know, everything else was higher than we were. The one thing you want to make sure is that you are not the highest object in the area when you have a thunderstorm, when you're on the ground. If you're on the ground getting ready to go, don't in the airplane. Even if you have a Civil Air Patrol, something going on where you're going out, whether you're getting ELT or something like that. If it's just a regular mission, that's another thing. You can just sit there and wait. Thunderstorms don't last that long. They usually are pretty much very quick and fast, relatively speaking. So you don't want to just sit there and take off. I don't know, Bob, I can't remember, we lost that one member that was, I can't remember what his name was now, but he took off from the airport and there was a storm going on and nobody knows what happened. All they know is they found his airplane at the end of the runway. But something did, and it had to do with the storm. Now, whether it was lightning or not, it probably wasn't, but whatever it was. So if the weather, even, you know, you want to look at the weather before you go on the course. Obviously, you guys who fly do. Terry, you know, I know that he looks at that stuff all the time before he even goes anywhere. So if there's even a slight chance of a thunderstorm, you want to be careful. You want to make sure that you go the right direction. And of course, we talked about, you know, if you were out playing golf or if you were in the tennis court. Tennis court is another one. There's been several people killed. Guess what you're doing when you're going like that? Yeah. There was one time when my wife and I, went to the Grand Canyon. Actually, this was back when I was coming back from instructor school. And we stopped at the Grand Canyon on the way back, and it was a day like this, just like this. And we walked to the edge, and when I did this, like this, you could hear the crackling in the air. It was crackling. Okay, back off. Don't take any chances with electricity and any of that stuff. It can get you. Let's see. Keep. Oh yeah, that's the other one. Keep playing until the thunder gets closer. No. Like I said, Air Force does 5 miles and they shut everything down. Okay, the odds of getting hit, of course, are pretty small, but like I said, I mean, in my lifetime, I've known 2 people that have gotten hit, and then of course the rest I've read about, and then I got hit 5 times, but I was in an airplane. You don't really want to get hit, probably, in our airplane, you know, by lightning. All 5 times we never had a problem with the airplane, but the one big story that stands out, and even when we got hit by lightning, it came to my head immediately, was the KC-135 who took off, and he was climbing out, and he got hit by lightning, and the plane did blow up, and it crashed. So that just, you know, but like I said, the C-141 was pretty well built, and Lockheed, I trust Lockheed. I don't, or Boeing. Florida is considered to be the one that has the highest problem. They have the most lightning, at least a couple of years ago. They have 2,000 lightning injuries per year. No, over the past 50 years. Sorry about that. So what do you do? No place is being outside. No place is safe from being out there. If you're trying to fly, don't. If you hear thunder and lightning close enough then it's close enough to possibly strike you. When you hear thunder, immediately move to safe shelter. Well, I'll get to that in a second. any type of place that you can get inside of a building. However, you've got to watch yourself. And I've seen this too. When I went to Cal Poly San Luis Obispo, and while I was up there, we had a couple of lightning storms. One of those lightning storms, actually, the lightning hit the sewage system. It went through the sewage system into a house that was right next to where we stayed, and the whole house just, I mean, not exploded like an explosion, but it blew all the windows out, everything, and it blew out, all, of course, everything that they had in the house, radio, TV, just blew it out. So I never had seen anything like that before, and I was just like, whoa. So they tell you right here, you know, move to a safe shelter. When you have any kind of plumbing at all, it can. I mean, I know it sounds scary. You're sitting there going, what? Just stay away from the sink. Okay? Whenever I hear lightning or thunder, I shut down my computer, because it will wipe your computer right out. And that's one of those things that you know, if you want to keep everything on that computer, then don't shut it off. Metal top vehicle with windows up. Okay, they tell you to go if that's okay. They tell you that's okay. I guess I suppose it is, because see, you got rubber tires, and so it's probably not going to do anything with you there. But just make sure you have the windows rolled up. Don't sit there and stick your hand out and go, hey. Let's see. Stay safe in the shelter, whether it be a car or some kind of safe building where you were away from, you know, like stay in the living room, stay in the bedroom. Stay at least 30 minutes after you hear the last clap of thunder. Okay, let's see. Stay off corded phones. And then, of course, I mentioned the computers. Any electrical equipment at all. So if you have a Tesla, I don't, avoid plumbing, which I just said, including sinks, baths, and faucets. Stay away from windows, of course. I mean, that's kind of, you know, common sense. But then again, if you like to watch the lightning, you might want to stand there and watch it. Stay off the porch. Do not lie on concrete floors. Do not lean against concrete walls. Now, that one there, that kind of surprised me a little bit. I think that's probably because when lightning does hit a building, it probably goes right down, follows the wall. Is probably what it does.
Well, a lot of concrete has rebar in it. So.
That's absolutely correct. Yes. Yeah. So don't go running out to your wall that's out that you have in your backyard and lean up against that. Of course, sometimes that's assuming the rebarb is in those walls. I've heard about these shysters that they'll go out and build a wall. They inspect it and all the rebarb's in there, and then when the inspector leaves, they pull the rebarb out. Yeah, and then they find out in the next earthquake. If you're caught outside, no safe shelter anywhere nearby, following actions may reduce your risk. Get off elevated areas, which of course is what I mentioned earlier. If you're hiking up the mountains, you know, get off the top of the mountain. Never lie flat on the ground. Never shelter under an isolated tree. Never use a cliff or rocky overhang for shelter. And I think, again, that has to do with the same thing I said. I think lightning can fall, it follows, probably, is what I think is what it does. Stay away from objects that conduct electricity, of course, like barbed wire fences, power lines, windmills, and anything like that that might conduct electricity. some of you guys I know do hiking and things like that, and these are things that you need to be thinking about. You know, it's I know because up in Northern California, I used to go fishing with my dad all the time, and we barbed wire fences was one of those things we used to crawl over all the time. And so whenever you have any kind of thunderstorms, you just don't want to be out there holding onto this thing, unless it's an electrical fence. Okay, know your weather forecast. That's probably the most top of the line. Just, you know, we have absolutely no excuse. My phone's over there. You have it on your phone. Same goes for aviation. And of course, if you got ForeFlight, of course, you'll know the weather quite well. And for those of you that, you know, you guys know how to use it, and of course, you know, Terry over there has been teaching, you know, how to look at that stuff up on ForeFlight. Is the trip necessary? Okay, if it's just a training flight or something like that, don't go. If it's a mission where you've been delayed for 30 to 45 minutes, then yes, do that. Don't, you know, no mission, especially if it involves something where you might get hit by lightning, the chances of that happening, then make sure that you know, stay on the ground until the lightning is no longer a problem. Overcoming lightning complacency. Okay, that's another one of those things. I have seen it. We live near a golf course, and when the lightning was flashing, there was people out on the golf course, and you're just sitting there going. And there was no real excuse because they could go over to where the houses were. They didn't have to be out there. If you're flying, you shouldn't have that complacency anyhow. That's all part of flight safety. And then they ask the question, what else can you do to control the risk? There's unlimited. There's a lot of things you can do. Lightning is one of those kind of things where you go through thunderstorm, and nothing happens major. But one of the things that you got to realize is that when you hear that lightning bolt or the thunder, and you hear the thunder crackling, and then all of a sudden you hear the thunder go kaboom like that, it means it hit something. I got to see it firsthand working for the forestry, and I watched a tree explode right in front of us. And I mean, it was no game. I'll tell you, that light came down, hit that tree, and the tree just literally disintegrated. Sent fire everywhere. Fortunately, it was raining, and so the fire wasn't going to really go anywhere. We still had to go out and get it anyhow. But lightning is really fun to watch. It really is. And it's neat to listen to that thunder. It really is. I love that thunder when I hear it sometimes up there. But, you know, pay a big respect to it. It's one of those things where, you know, you have a lot of power there. And just like the plugs in the wall, pay your respect to it. A lot of people get complacent on that too. I could do a whole nother safety meeting on being electrocuted in your house. It's a never hit me complacency. Control the risk by being weather aware. Okay, now the other one, if anybody wants the references that this is from, I got it right up here. Just, you know, just come up to me after the meeting and I'll just give it to you there. One of the things that I realized that when I got hit by lightning with the airplane is that that lightning has to have an in and an out, and your body is perfect for that, and that's why people die, or at the very least, bird. So just keep that in mind. Now, in the airplane, if you get hit by lightning, what you may run into is anything. It could be it could blow the worst case scenario could blow something out that causes you to have to bring the airplane down quickly. Like I said, we had that whole left wing panel and the static eliminators, everything just blown right off. That was in a large 4-engine jet. In our airplane, it could cause some problems, and I know that that's one of those things you don't want to ever be one of those people that you're gonna, well, let's test this theory out. No, you don't want to do that. Any questions? Yeah.
So, just a comment, and that is, Nicole done this years ago, working in research and development. We actually had a special area with a lightning booth. And
Oh,
a
yeah.
massive tower inside that generated the same effect as lightning, so that it would go ahead and it would strike, they would set the alarm, and it was a red beacon, like a siren, kind of a
Yeah.
effect that you'd see on a fire truck.
Yeah.
And everybody manned their hearing protectors and whatnot, because as you said, it was
Yeah.
very loud.
Yeah.
And they would test avionics, and they did so much testing on those. And,
Oh, yeah.
and I guess you're pretty happy, having been struck 5 times, you're pretty happy they do those kinds of tests. all over Europe.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Sure.
It
It was.
does sort of have the survivability test when it's go time and you need to come down safely and all that good stuff. But it's good to know behind the curtain what they actually
Exactly,
do for
yeah.
that sort of thing.
Yeah, and I have seen that. Yeah, and I know that they do those kind of things. I also know that most large airports, especially, have lightning detectors, and they will. And of course, when you go into, get the information what's going on, they'll tell you that there's lightning within such and such miles, in this direction. And you just want to avoid that. You just want to avoid it as much as you can possibly do. And of course, I don't even have to tell you about stay away from thunderstorms. That's a whole nother ball game and a whole nother subject. Terry knows about that one. Okay. All right.
Thank you, Roger.
Did everybody sign in? Make sure you do.
Wah, wah, wah. Let's see here. Thank you, Roger. Like I said, make sure that you sign in. Those of you online, make sure you let us know who's here. I think for the YouTubers, message Dave. I will see who is in attendance on Teams, so I got you there. On that subject of lightning, one thing to remember for MOs and pilots, your pre-flight checklist include one item that's very important to that, and that is checking the number of static wicks on the aircraft. Every aircraft is rated to have a prerequisite number, and you can only be missing a certain number, which I think is either 1 or 2 on our aircraft. But yeah, missing static wicks is actually an issue that could be a problem when you are flying in and around lightning. It can also affect your avionics, especially the radio. So, my aircraft had been missing a static wick for a while, and I always had, slightly strange radio issues. I finally replaced the wick, and those problems largely went away. So, coincidence? Maybe. I don't know. But, when you think about it, the aircraft flying through the air is creating and shedding static and ions through those wicks. So, very important topic on flight safety. You look like you might have something else to say. Okay.
I'm just saying, I'll see you guys later.
All right.
Head out here.
Thank you, sir.
Bye.
The other thing is, again, with MOs and pilots, there are some safety items that, are away from just lightning, but especially the non-pilots, because some things just don't come naturally to non-pilots, and it's important to think about safety when you're flying in a general aviation aircraft. I mean, as safe as we are here at CAP, obviously you need to spend a little more time paying attention to certain things that can help the pilot, right? So MOs, MSs to a certain extent, any aircrew really, you have that conversation with your mission pilot to make sure where you can help, where you can hurt, and what's going to be helpful to the pilot and what's going to be very distracting to the pilot, because those are all very specific safety things that every pilot will tell you. And I hate when people click in the microphone or talk to me while I'm landing or all kinds of weird stuff. So take that in mind. Trying to think what else. Terry, you got anything that we haven't covered?
I do a few things. We're having a turbo clinic here on Saturday. Whoever would like to come, can come. If you're not a pilot, it's fine. The reason we're having a turbo clinic here is because we're sitting in the Squadron 216 Charlie Papa, Turbo 206. I don't know the year of the aircraft, but I know that it's a G1000 NXI, which means it has the ESP function, which is essentially an autopilot function will not allow you to do certain things, like bank the aircraft beyond a certain bank angle for safety. So that's good news. We've had 7598 Zulu, which you talked about, and 877 Charlie Papa in the shop now since the middle of January. We've had no flight operations at all for about the past month or so. So I think 887 Charlie Papa is coming out of the shop. I believe the ADC was replaced today. Now software updates.
Yeah,
I'm hoping that maybe and Ken left, I tell him we can start flying cadets probably by next weekend or so. Trying to think. Our counter drug operations, if you guys are getting close to 2 years, you guys must be getting close to 2 years. No? Okay, within 3 months of your 2-year anniversary, submit your Form 83 to Tom Barbary. If you need the instructions again, I've sent the instructions out via email. If you need them again, I can resend those to you. And we fly at a pretty regular pace down at Imperial on counter drug. Chris and I are going to be going down there next weekend and filling the bill for Group 5, who's short an aircraft. I don't know how the training went this weekend. Was there was something?
It was good. Yeah, there was MSA, MRO training.
MSA, okay.
Yeah.
Did that work out well?
Very good.
Okay.
They even threw some UDF in there too.
Was there a good turnout?
Yeah, very good.
I could tell by the fact that it needs vacuuming here.
Actually, we did have a cadet vacuum the whole place.
Oh, really?
They actually cleaned up.
I'll have to show him where he missed, but anyway. It's fine. All right, so we have this turbo clinic coming up, and I think there's nine pilots, and there's probably 14 attendees. So it's going to be very important to us that we get a number of pilots checked out on this airplane pretty quickly, because it's one thing to get a new aircraft, it's another thing to justify it staying here, so we've got to be able to fly it.
It's a 2014 model year.
Huh?
2014 is the model year.
It's a 2014.
It's ancient. It's almost too old for Terry to fly.
Cap 437 was a 2012 model. That was, so we're getting something a little bit newer. I was down in Imperial last weekend and flew about 13 hours in Cap 437, incidentally, just coincidentally. I took that airplane down there. It flew well, but reminded me of a lot of things that we need to think about when we're talking about the G1 or the turbo. And how many pilots do we have here? I know that Carlos. Okay, 4. Maybe just in the last 10 minutes here, I'll talk about the turbo aspect of the aircraft. So, obviously, all turbo aircraft does is it jams a bunch of air, it compresses air so that you can fly at higher altitudes, and it thinks that it's at a lower altitude, right? So, one of the things with the Turbo 206 is something called turbine inlet temperature. There's an EGT, which you normally aspirated aircraft, and you would go ahead and lean according to EGT, but we don't lean according to EGT. We won't lean according to turbine inlet temperature. And essentially, that's the exhaust coming out of the cylinders and then into the turbine, spinning the compressor. The one number that you need to think about is 1675. That's the max TIT temperature we can ever have in the Turbo 206. The minimum temperature is defined by the green band. Okay, I'll just say it that way. So first thing we think of is 1675. We never want to go above that. The second thing is we always want to keep the turbine inlet temperature in the green. And so what does that mean? Essentially, on takeoff, we really don't have to worry about it. On takeoff, we have balls to the wall. We have full throttle, full propeller, and full mixture, except for if it is more than 34 gallons an hour, which could be if it goes up to 36. On takeoff roll, you've got to lean that to 34 gallons an hour. So we have to have 34 gallons an hour. That's going to be something new to everybody flying turbine aircraft, is adjusting the mixture on takeoff roll. Once you get used to the aircraft, like 437, I knew that I could just put a knuckle back, meaning a half an inch back off the wall. I knew that'd approximately be 34 gallons an hour. Anything forward of that would be 36. And that took a little bit of the workload off of looking at the engine instruments, the airspeed, the runway, and adjusting the mixture. There's a lot going on there very quickly. So everything's balls to the wall out of the gate. You can actually take that all the way up to 17,000 feet if you want to. Our operational fuel load is 70 gallons an hour. You're burning 34 gallons an hour doing that. So you got to think about where you're going. You can climb fast, but you're going to burn a lot of gas. So the recommended climb, or I'll just say the recommended climb, is top of the green. And the numbers on top of the green are, well, first of all, 39 inches of manifold pressure is the most you're getting in full maximum continuous power. Top of the green is 30, okay? So in your climb checklist, after taking off, you're 39, 2,500 RPMs, and 34 gallons an hour. You're going to bring that back to 30 inches of manifold pressure, 2,400 RPMs, and 20 gallons an hour. There's green arcs on all this, and you just bring it back to the top of the green. Very simple to remember. You can take that all the way up to altitude and cruise, and you don't have to change it. Now that we're in cruise and we're on our way to a mission, we're going to think about leaning the aircraft. There's a lean assist function in the G1000 that will help you identify the hottest cylinder with the magenta horizontal stripe at the top of that. You get to that point by rolling the mixture back slowly. And when I say slowly, I say a half a turn, wait 10 seconds. Another half a turn, wait 10 seconds. Because everything is it takes a little bit for it to catch up. You may, and I can tell you that's been my experience, you will probably not get the lean assist magenta bar on the top of the cylinder before you hit 1675 degrees of turbine inlet temperature. And so, because I just said 1675 is the max you can ever do, you may not get to the peak cylinder, okay, which is just fine. I don't want anybody going near 1675. Let's just say 1600 is the max, okay? So you get to 1600 and you're not peaked out, start rolling the mixture forward. You may see a negative number before you start rolling the mixture forward in terms of how many degrees cool or hot or rich of the peak that you are. Using your common sense, if you're rolling the mixture back and you stop and you roll it right once and you see a negative number, do you think that you're lean at peak or rich at peak at that point? No. You're all the way as pretty hot as you can be. You just roll a little bit of mixture in, so it's indicating something. You're going to be lean at peak, and this is where people get into trouble in leaning this aircraft. You're going to be lean at peak initially, because just picking up, everything's lagging. So you might say minus 15 or something like that. Don't mistake that and say, okay, well, peak EGT is where I want to be. No, you're lean at peak right there. You continue rolling it, guess what? It's going to go to 0, and then it's going to go back down to minus something. So now we're on the rich side of peak, and that's where you want to be. The book says 0 or peak EGT is best economy. We're never even going to go there. We're flying Air Force airplanes with Air Force money. Let's spend the gas, okay? And let's save our cylinders. Let's go all the way to minus 150, which is best power. Minus 75 is recommended, minus 150. Minus 75 is recommended and good on your wallet. Minus 150, we don't care. We're getting a bunch of power, okay? So that's a leaning process. So now, and by the way, between 7,500 and 10,500, that's where we're going to be flying. And you're going to lean the airplane from 20 gallons an hour to 19.7 gallons an hour, okay, at these low altitudes. It's just not going to make that much of a difference. So, thirdly, we want to make sure, I don't even know what number I'm on right now, but additionally, we never want the cylinder head temperature to go above 380. You have cow flaps in the aircraft. Of course, you control your airspeed on the way up. If you're getting hot, you lower your angle of ascent, go a little faster, open the cow flaps up. But if that's not working and you're all squared up, add fuel. That's not going to kill anything, okay, adding fuel. You go up to 21, 22, 23 gallons an hour, but you keep the cylinder head temperature at 380. That's much better than running over 380. We've had a lot of problems with top-end overhauls on these aircraft, cylinders being burnt out. So we want to pay attention to cylinder head temperatures. Again, so now we're cruising along, we're leaned out, we're basically top of green, 30, 2400, and 20. We get to a grid, now we're going to be flying a grid. Our power settings for a grid is going to be somewhere around 20 inches of manifold pressure, 21 inches of manifold pressure, 10 degrees of flaps, so we're going to get 90 knots out of that. The good news is we're not really going to have to touch the mixture if we just pull it back from 30 to 21 inches manifold pressure. That turbine inlet temperature is still going to remain in the green pretty good. However, when we get down to lower manifold pressure settings, like at 1600 and below and out of the green, you're going to see the turbine inlet temperature reduce pretty quickly. And what you're going to have to do at that point is you're going to have to lean the mixture to keep it in the green. So when we reduce power substantially, we're going to have to reduce mixture substantially to keep the turbine inlet temperature in the green. Okay, now if I were to put full power in with that reduced mixture, what do you think is going to happen to the turbine inlet temperature? It's going to skyrocket very quickly. So we have to know when we're increasing power, we're increasing mixture, we're decreasing power, we're decreasing mixture. And almost, I would say that, you know, with almost every big power change, you're going to have a mixture change in the aircraft. So let's take that example. We're flying along, and we do a canyon drop. Canyon drop is a procedure where we go from the top of a canyon, and we pull the power completely, and we drop down at 90 knots, and we're descending. So not much we can do to keep the turbine inlet temperature in the green other than leaning it out pretty substantially, right, with idle power. Coming out of that, my recommendation would always be to go full mixture, full prop, full power. Get yourself out of there with maximum continuous power, and now reset. Once you get up to an altitude you want, reset. Go to 30, 2400, and 20. Now, you pull the power back, you don't have to adjust the mixture, you can fly along at 90 knots. Okay, you need a little more power to climb, you don't have to go to maximum continuous power. You're say for 17 inches, you go up to 30 inches, and you don't have to adjust the mixture, because it'll go right back up to 20 gallons an hour. So do you see what I'm saying? If you set yourself up for these things, it's fairly easy. So those are some things that to think about with the Turbo 206. Probably about the only time that you're not worried about the turbine inlet temperature is from being the numbers to final. Because at that point you're pulling the power and you're coming down, and you're not worried about it. You know you're going to land. You got full mixture. You got full prop. This aircraft will accelerate from idle to maximum continuous pressure or power at any altitude below 17,000 feet with full mixture. Okay, with full mixture. So back pocket right there.
What does doing proficiency flying? How does that harm the engine if you're just keeping everything pretty
No, I don't
pattern
think-
work?
I mean, proficiency flying, I mean, you should be flying it in the green. I mean, that's all there is to it. Just think of it in those terms. Keep the turbine inlet temperature in the green. If it's too high, cool it off. How do you do that?
Add fuel.
Add gas.
Mhm.
And then the other way around, or take out power. Right? It's not necessarily just add gas, take out power.
Yeah.
Or you can increase power and not lean. Or you can keep your power there and lean. So there's like 4 different variables there. There's some other idiosyncrasies with the aircraft. If you get a gallon per hour or more of fuel fluctuation, probably means you've got some vapor going on. And there's some things, if it's on the ground, that you would do. You might take your RPMs up to 1800 for 2 minutes or something like that. If it's in flight, you can put your fuel pump on. There's actually lots of little idiosyncrasies like that we could cover, but the basics are kind of what I discussed there. Any questions on any of that? Yeah.
Question, will you be able to video this?
Huh?
Teams or can you?
It's going to be on video. You can watch it if you can't make it here yet.
Good.
What's that, Bob?
So 380 is a normal cylinder head temperature, and that's pretty cool. I run about 385, 390.
Yeah.
450 is about the max, if I recall, for most cylinders.
450 is the max in the aircraft. Yeah.
So why try and fly around 380? It's not going to hurt the cylinders even at 400.
Well, 400 probably won't hurt it. I do agree with that.
Well, I think it depends on which book you read, right?
So, you know, if you tell somebody to be there at 5 o'clock, sometimes they show up at 5. You know what I'm talking about, Bob? You should tell somebody that the dinner starts at 5 and they show up at 5:30. This is what I'm training. So if I tell somebody 380 and it goes to 400, because that's going to happen, okay? That's better than telling them 400 and it goes to 420 all the time. That's kind of you've outed me, but
And the only thing I was going to say is, in the brief study and reading about engine types, the Continentals, you want to control their cylinder head temperatures a little more than the Lycomings, because the Lycomings have a little more heat tolerance. That's because I know, like in my aircraft, 400 is where they typically hang out. 420 is where you're concerned. 450 is where we have a problem. But I've heard Continentals, 400 is where you're concerned. So 380, 390 is where you want them to be most of the time. That's what I've heard for Continentals.
well, there's nothing wrong with what Bob just said there, but that's also a guy that has 50,000 hours of flight time and watches everything. So
Right.
we want to make sure we stay away from, and in this turbo clinic, I'm going to be preaching the 380. If it slips to 400, okay. But I don't want to preach the 400 and slip to 420 all the time. That's what got me into trouble.
The problem you got is on a hot day when you're running 110 degrees, 105 degrees, you're bound. The CHT is going to go way up over 400, and the only way to curtail that is speed. Just like you said, so you got to put speed on it. You got to keep the mixtures rich to keep them cool. So
Yep.
it takes two. The fuel is vaporization of fuel in the cylinder is a cooling agent, and speed across the vanes is a cooling agent.
Go fast. Go fast.
That's
What's
why
that?
I find
What was
out
that, Chuck?
110, 120.
No, I was just gonna say, on this particular aircraft, 216 Charlie Papa, from an avionics perspective, as the MO, big difference, little difference
So
between?
the only difference is going to have a, what do they call, high resin screen? Is that what's called? It's a high resin screen, so
The refresh is much better.
it's
It's faster.
unbelievable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you know how you normally get the kind of chunk with the
Yeah.
G1000? It's a nice smooth pan.
So there's that.
And then secondarily, as an MO in a turbo, and that's when I'm coming to the clinic, what's the best way we can help? Because obviously everybody's trying to look out the windows, but.
No,
it
I
appears
think that,
need to
you know,
keep
I
a
think if
closer
there's
eye.
one key word, if it's TIT is a word, it's an abbreviation is
Yeah,
at this point, but I mean, if you think about it in those terms,
right.
if you know where that instrument is, and you know that that's always supposed to be the green, that is a great backup right
Okay.
there. So,
Excellent.
and also cylinder head temperature.
Yeah. Yeah, I
You know,
mean,
it starts getting about 400, you wanna let the pilot know about it, if he's not paying attention, cause lots of, it can happen.
I mean, we do. I mean, as an MO, you should understand the engine management systems enough to know what's bad and be able to, when there are other critical phases of flight, be able to chime in. But otherwise, not disturbing.
Just one other thing about a turbo aircraft, you really shouldn't run it below 2,000 RPMs, really, ever. You get something called bootstrapping, the turbo can't keep up, so there's that, and then, oh shoot, I don't know, there's something else, but I can't remember what it is.
The
So,
descent
Does
profile?
that apply to on the ground?
The descent profile is different on a turbo?
Yeah, you really don't want to touch the mixture, you don't want to really enrich in the mixture too much. Like I said, when you have power out, you're going to leave the mixture kind of lean, so.
Yeah, the rest of us or naturally aspirated, we can kind of chop and drop within our cylinder head, envelope, but
So I haven't
turbos
flown
are-
the turbo aircraft in 4 years, and I felt like I was an expert in it, frankly. I'd memorized everything in the airplane back in the day. But I was actually surprised at how quickly it got away from a couple of times. The TIT did come out of the green on the low side, never on the high side. But it's just a reminder. Yeah.
Stage cooling? Is that applicable?
I don't know what that means.
Stage cooling is when you're reducing power, you do your power reductions in stages.
well, I think he,
In Navajo,
well,
that was
I think
critical.
I think what he's saying is you can control that by leading in descent, right?
There's nothing in the book that I've seen about stage cooling per se. It's all just about keeping the turbine inlet temperatures consistently inside of a range by either adding power, reducing power, increasing mixture, reducing it.
But there's shock cooling. Shock cooling is when you pull up a bunch of power and it goes from a hot temperature all the way down. That's when you start getting cracks.
Yeah.
So you got to take and work it slowly.
Well, and this is what I tell anybody that ever flies an airplane: slow, smooth, small. I mean, there's just no reason. I mean, is there any reason just to chop the power like that, just instantaneously and dive down? In an emergency situation, I can see that. But it's all about planning and having a stable approach and all of that. Really shouldn't be from downwind a beam. Hopefully, you're not changing the power too much. It's just one power setting. I mean, it's hard to do that actually, but challenge yourself to do that. You'll make yourself much better than enemies. And that's not exactly what he's talking about there. That's just another thing. Anyway,
All right.
I guess our time is up.
Yep. We're over. Anything else before we wrap up? Going once, going twice.
Yeah.
Oh,
March 26th, which is Tuesday, it says Squadron 5 is doing a fast team.
yes.
Briefing. Nobody's briefed it. It's on the FAA website.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
just came about. Andre set all that up.
Yep.
And that is happening.
And it's I believe it's the 26th, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
The last
Aerospace-
Tuesday of the month.
Aerospace Education Night.
Where?
Right
Here.
You have to sign up through the FAA website.
So you get wings credit.
And also
Yeah.
RSVP for
Yeah.
Yeah.
as
Yes.
well, for members.
Is that gonna be recorded? Because I'm gonna be out of town
Yes.
Tuesday.
It'll
It
be
will
a
be
Zoom.
recorded. Limited 40, but
All right. So yes, everybody online, make sure from March 26th you go use the link that Andre sent out. Make sure you sign up if you're coming to attend in person because there's only 40 seats. All right.
I wanted to do RSVP, is that okay?
I think that's when
You
you
gotta
sign
sign-
up for it. I think
You have
that's
to
the
sign up on
RSVP.
FAA Wings.
there's a link in Andre's
Yeah, I
email
saw that.
to sign up.
I
You
thought
click
that-
that,
I
you
thought
go
that
there and you sign up for it.
I thought that was the online portion of it.
No,
That's
it's
the sign
all
up for
same
the-
thing.
the thing.
It's the same process if you go to any in-person fast team meeting. All right. Going 3 times? All right. Adjourned. Have a good night, everyone. Thank you.